Kia ora everyone. This week's podcast features an Australian science teacher by the name of Pete Whiting. Now, we have some really good discussions around a few things, but we mainly focus on two areas, and that's gamification and flipped learning. Flipped learning is pretty commonplace these days, but this concept of gamification is fairly new in education. It's quite big in businesses where organisations are spending a lot of money on incorporating gamification to increase brand awareness and user engagement with their products. But yeah, like I said, it's still early days in education, but it has a lot of implications for us as educators. So just to give a bit of a heads up, I thought what I'd do is in this video log, I would just introduce and define what gamification is. And the way I'm going to do that is I've just got a very brief some footage from my presentation in Dubai recently, just outlining exactly what gamification is. So just so you have a bit of awareness going into that podcast episode, so you're not going in blind and blinded by all these game terms that might scare you away from the episode a little bit. So have a look at the video and throw out any questions you might have about gamification, because Peter or I would love to answer any of your questions. Cheers, talk soon.
What gamification is, I'm going to explain by describing what it isn't. And it's not a video game. You can't play gamification. It's not something you put in and play. It's not that. It's not coding. You can't code gamification. And it's not using games in the classroom. All three of these have a good application in the classroom, but that's not what gamification is. And what gamification is, I'm going to use this game here as an example. Hands up if you've heard of Clash of Clans. It's popular social game, really popular social game. This company, Supercell, developers of this company, in 2016, $2.3 billion in revenue, and it's a free game. You don't pay money to download this. Play a console game that I play on my PlayStation, cost me $120 to play. Clash of Clans is free. You can play it as much as you want. You can play it as much as you want, for as long as you want. You're not going to hit a distinguishable paywall or anything. You can play it as long as you want. It's not going to cost you any money. Yet they still had $2.3 billion of revenue. And they do that because they have all of these game mechanics. They install these game mechanics within the design of their game that are there for one purpose. And that purpose is to get little Jimmy to pull out mum and dad's credit card and make a very small microtransaction. And they do that over and over and over and over again, and they get their big revenue. So what gamification is, or what that previous one, that example I gave, is called anchored juxtaposition. And you're going to see these badges throughout the presentation. And they are referring to game mechanics, which I'll talk about shortly. So that is an example of anchored juxtaposition, which means the way they do it, and it's a very black hat game mechanic. So it's a negative game mechanic. So they present two options. Right? One, you can do, and it's going to take you a while to achieve that, or they give you another option where you can have it instantly, but it's going to cost you, and that could be gems or money or anything like that. So this is the example here. So you could upgrade your laboratory for, this is an example here, it might take 19 hours to upgrade that, or you could pay the 629 gems, which I think is about $14, and you got that instantly. All right, so it's that game mechanic where you're presented with these two options of that anchored juxtaposition, and you go, well, actually, I don't want to wait that long, I'm going to pay the money. So it's a black hat game mechanic, an example of how they're generating revenue in business. So what gamification is the application of game mechanics in non-game contexts. And we see it all through the business world as people are engaging and looking at how they can increase user engagement with their brand or their platform, like I've mentioned before.